Hello friends, today I want to share with you the best places to purchase short-term rentals. Did you realize that the largest booking site for overnight stays owns zero real estate? That's right, Airbnb is the largest booking site in the world and it owns zero real estate. Think about that for a minute. They're booking properties but don't own any real estate. And it was barely on anybody's radar 10 to 15 years ago. So it's an innovative segment of the real estate market that I would like to share with you on how you can take advantage of it. Now, I'm sure you've heard of great returns people are making on Airbnbs or short-term rentals, but where are those places? As we go through this topic, I want to dive into the specifics about the short-term rental market. What is it? How the numbers ultimately make sense? And why this segment of real estate is growing so fast. Finally, I want to give you some real-world examples of some short-term rentals that I own and that I've seen some of my friends that have purchased and the great returns they're getting. If you're ready, let's go. So first off, what is a short-term rental? Now, compared to a long-term rental, right? A long-term rental is something you rent for a long period of time. Maybe you're in a year lease, 2-year lease, you pay by the month, correct? With a short-term rental, it's typically defined by a 30-day or less stay. Most of the time it's nightly rates that you're paying to stay at a certain place. Usually there's minimum stays of 2 or 3 nights. Most people are booking for 2, 3+ nights when they book a short-term rental. But people might say, well, how's that different than a vacation rental? Ultimately, they're very similar, right? They're both set up the same way for short-term stays. But in my mind, the difference, a vacation rental is a destination area where people go on vacation quite a bit, whereas a short-term rental literally can be anywhere. It could be a treehouse in the forest that you've never heard of. It could be a grain bin in a rural area that's refurbished as a home, or a boxcar made from a train that's in somebody's backyard that people stay at. And the most intriguing one that I've ever seen, the one that I like the most, is a house in the shape of a dog in Cottonwood, Idaho that they've turned into an Airbnb. Now, Cottonwood is out in the middle of nowhere. You've probably never even heard of it. It's in north central Idaho, but this Airbnb does very well. It's been featured on multiple Airbnb sites and multiple publications about how unique it is. So that's the cool thing about short-term rentals. It really can be everywhere. A lot of it depends on the experience that you're willing to give somebody. Now, I've talked about this in my episode regarding vacation rentals, but let's reiterate it here. So why are Airbnbs, why is it such a big thing right now when it didn't even exist 10 to 15 years ago? Number one, the cool thing about it, it's innovation in real estate investing. And those are going to happen all the time. Imagine if you were on the forefront of this years ago, if you understood the potential of Airbnb, but you were in it 5, 6, 7 years ago. By knowing some of these things, you'll be able to be on the forefront of the next segment of booming real estate strategy. But first off, there was a book written years ago called The Experience Economy. And in that, they talked about the different ways that we've grown up, the different economies as a society, whether it's the commodity economy, the goods economy, the service economy. Currently, we're living in the experience economy. Now, what does that mean? It means that we want to have an experience. If we are going to pay money for something, we would much rather have an experience than just something that seems kind of blah or bland, right? So when you stay at a place, why not experience it like a local? Why not have all the amenities that you would want to have in a place and experience really what it's like rather than just going to a hotel, checking in? Rather than having just one room, you have multiple rooms, you have a lot of different things that you can do. That in and of itself is the experience that people want. And that's why this segment of real estate grew from nothing to one of the fastest growing segments in all of real estate. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about the numbers, because ultimately, if the numbers do not make sense, then buying the property doesn't make sense. Even if it's cool or it's somewhere you'd like to go, it just doesn't make sense if you can't back the numbers into it. First question I always ask, is it in high demand? Are there people in the area that love to visit it? Does it have a sports team, right? Does it have college teams? Does it have concerts happening quite a bit? Is there a live music scene happening in that city? All those things are great questions to ask. And ultimately, just going online and seeing how many visitors that city receives each year. Now, I said earlier, it doesn't have to be a major city. Now, that's obviously the best chances of success, but if you make something unique enough, it really doesn't matter where it's at, but your best chance, rather than taking a risk on building a treehouse out in the middle of the forest that hardly anybody's been to before, I would start with simply buying it in an area that's in high demand. Now, let's talk specifically about the numbers. And here's my general rule of thumb. I look at the purchase price of the property, and whatever the purchase price is, I need annual rents or projected annual rents to at least be 10%. So if I found a property for $500,000, I at least need the annual rents to come in at $50,000. That, as a general rule of thumb, is a decent decent deal. Now, if annual rents are 15% of purchase price, that's a really good deal. So if I'm looking at a $500,000 property and annual rents are $75,000, that's at 15%, and in my mind, that's a really good deal. Now, if you can find a property where annual rents are 20% of the purchase price of the home, that's a do not pass up deal. So if you found a property worth $500,000 in annual rents at a short-term rental or $100,000 a year, do not pass it up. Get it under contract, and even if you don't have the money, find somebody who will invest in it with you, because that is a great deal. And if you dive more specifically into it, you could look at the cash on cash return. So let's say you bought that property for $500,000, you put 20% down, $100,000, and you have other expenses. But let's say out of all of your expenses from the gross of $100,000 of annual rents, it might come down to $30,000, $35,000. You'd hope it would be close to that. $30,000 off a $100,000 investment, that's a 30% cash on cash return. Is that a pretty good investment? Absolutely it is. Now let's talk about some real world examples. About 2 years ago, I bought a short-term rental in Orlando, Florida. Now, I did put some money into it to really kind of theme it out, kind of have a Disney theme, and I bought that property for $579,000. The first year of renting that property, it brought in $152,000. So think about that. My general rule of thumb, say it's even $600,000. To get a 20% of my general rule of thumb, 20% annual rents, a purchase price, I need to be $120,000. But it was $150,000. That's a 25% my annual rents of the purchase price of the home. That was a fantastic deal. And we probably put, when you say down payment and fixing it up, probably put $150,000 into the property. Here's the interesting thing. From that $152,000, we netted about $50,000, right? So $200,000, $50,000 we're making every year on that. That's a 25% cash on cash return. Those deals are out there. Now the prices in Orlando have really gone up over the last little bit, but I promise there's little gems out there. If you look hard enough, you'll be able to find them. Here's another real world example. So I've got a friend of mine. They actually purchased a condo in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I thought, Knoxville? Do a lot of people go there? Don't they usually go to Nashville or some other place? But that condo's fairly close to the University of Tennessee campus, and it is booked up 85% of the time. The condo they bought for like $250,000 is pulling in about $55,000, $65,000 a year just from a condo in Knoxville. Who would have thought? But they had some information that a lot of people go there to visit games. And you know, University of Tennessee fans are pretty crazy, right? They love going to football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, it gets booked up quite a bit. And Knoxville is a growing community with not too far from there, close to there, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And so that was a gem that I had never even heard about or thought about that my friend took advantage of. So how do you find these properties? Once again, you've probably seen this from my other videos. I'm pretty passionate about finding deals. I invest a lot of time and energy to really searching best areas, hottest areas to find vacation rentals. And some of them are places I've never heard of. And so I don't know much about the different areas, but what I will do is a lot of research, right? I will go in and I will compare what I'm seeing online through Google searches, through people's opinions on the best places to buy properties, and compare it to a website called airdna.com. If you enter in that area, it'll give you nightly rental average rates, average occupancy rate, and also average monthly gross income from those rentals. And then I will click on those actual sites. It'll take me to Airbnb or Vrbo to look at that property and see how booked the calendar really is. And by doing that, I'm able to come up with a general consensus on the best places to buy short-term rentals. Now, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, and I'd love to hear your opinion. If you've got an opinion on where the best place is to buy a short-term rental, please comment below. I'd be happy to respond to you. We can get a good dialogue going. So my family and I took a road trip this summer, and we traveled around the southern part of the United States. And I will tell you, I've been to a lot of those places before, but I rented Airbnbs. I stayed like a local. It was awesome. And I'll tell you, some of the areas I was absolutely blown away by that I'd never been to before were Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, South Carolina. Those are areas in my mind that are going to be booming and have a lot of growth potential and would be a great place to buy a short-term rental. We stayed at a short-term rental in Charleston that was absolutely awesome. Loved it. Loved the vibe. Loved the location. It was close to King Street. We were able to do everything we wanted to do. Another couple of hot areas, in my opinion, is Nashville, Tennessee. And it might not have to be right in Nashville, but some of those surrounding cities. Nashville is vibrant. It's got a live music scene. There's a lot of people that love to travel to Nashville. And my honorable mention would probably be the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. Still a lot of people travel there. Where I live in Idaho, a lot of people will go and stay some winters down in Phoenix to get away from the Idaho cold, to take in and soak in the sun that comes in Phoenix and the Scottsdale area. But once again, I'd love to hear your opinion. Tell me where you think is the best place to buy a short-term rental. And if you have have any hidden gems out there, I'm happy to share mine with you as well. As a gift, I have a short-term rental calculator that I'm giving away for free. Normally we sell this for $100, but you enter in all your data on a short-term rental and it'll spit out whether it's a good deal or not. That link is right below here, aaronsfreetraining.com. Go ahead and click on it and you can get that free training. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.